Hey everyone, welcome to the Internet Capitalist Podcast with Luke Kish, where we talk about mindsets, experiences, and frameworks that will help you have fun, get rich, build cool shit, and positively impact the world. I am your host, Luke Kish, and welcome to episode number 35 of the podcast, all about planning the future and avoiding the wrong direction. So it's January 9th. I am still planning the future for 2023. I'm at a stage or position in my life right now where I need to make overarching thematic decisions and choices, right? I have a business that's been doing about 10 million per year for a couple years. And, it's less directly impacted by me. My decisions are less like just about me is a better way to say it, and like less easy to make really because there's more weight on them. And then the next play in my mind is to reach $100 million level, which I need to be more strategic about than just like, I can turn this into a $10 million business. Maybe I don't need to be more strategic about it. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I do believe that there is smarter ways to move forward and less smart ways to move forward. And so I'm taking my time figuring this out. So today's topic, planning the future and avoiding the wrong direction, is something that people, in my opinion, overlook. Why? Because it's hard. And the more busy you are and the more important you are, the harder it is to give the actual space to really plan and think through well what you want to do and what you want to accomplish. Entrepreneurship in its extreme is the ability to make good decisions. You look at some of the richest people in the world and some of the biggest entrepreneurs in the world, hands-on, get to a point where they actually are doing very little, but they are making decisions, and they need to make good decisions. And that's what their value is basically stemmed off of, their ability to make good strategic directional decisions. And most people don't give it the time or importance, right? It's very easy to just get trapped up or sucked back into the day-to-day. You got, say, 100 people on Slack messaging you, emails, people saying, hey, can you, finish signing this? And can you do this and do this? And what's going on with this? And because everyone's got their own agendas, right? And you have to have the discipline to say, I need to be okay with ignoring all of that right now because I need to make sure my sail is set the correct direction. I need to make sure that I'm going the right way. And that's really, really hard to do. So, I found a really good rhythm, and on like the 4th, I played cards with my friends. We stayed up late till like 4 a.m. And, I woke up the next morning tired, still got on all my meetings, and then, kind of almost forgot about the directions. Like, oh, Luke, you're finding direction right now. You're not just going back into the company. You're not just going back into what people need and are asking of you. You're ignoring that right now. You need to stay out of that. So there was like a 2 or 3 day period of having to get back into the headspace of, wait a minute. Don't just start working on all of this day-to-day activity. You need to set the direction, and you need to take the time you need to set the direction. So, how am I doing that? For me personally, I'm reading 2 books. The big questions that I have are how to take this business to $100 million plus / this kind of business to $100 million plus. And that'll be either through the acquisition of other businesses or some sort of licensing or, et cetera. So I'm reading a book, you guessed it, 0 to 100 million, Ready, Fire, Aim. Brilliant. I'm about halfway through it. And then Exitpreneurship, which is behind the plan of, one of my options, which is trying to buy smaller versions of the same business that I have, $1 to $3 million, grow them all up to about 10, which is the size of mine, roll them into one thing, and then sell them for like a couple $100 million. That's another option. And so I'm reading Exitpreneurship. So I'm reading both of these books, and really that's my job right now. Like, keep my head in a place of, hey, what are you trying to figure out right now? You don't need to be super glued to the day to day. You got a big team, 65 people. There's capable people on the executive team that all make good decisions, that all can think for themselves, and that all can run things for a little bit. You need to still be on the sales meetings every day. We hired some really cool salespeople. We hired a sales guy who actually built out acquisition.com's entire click to close process, and they're doing training for us now, which is super exciting. So that's less pressure there. And I need to stay, just reading and thinking through what the decision is. And then the next week, 2 weeks, make the decision, make the choice, and then begin. But not rushing that process, not over baking that process, right? Because think about it. If you do 6 months of work off of a poorly made decision and the decision wasn't right, you just wasted 6 months of fucking time. Where if you just took another week and a half, 2 weeks, you just saved 5.5 months by thinking better about the situation and not rushing it. Most people are going nowhere fast, right? They have no direction, no strategic, okay, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is what I think is the best idea. They're not thinking, okay, this is the results I want to be at, right? I know I want to be a billionaire. I want to have a $1 billion empire that creates positive impact on a global scale. I know that I'm not going to get to billions by staying in 10 millions, right? So I'm going to have to get up to 100 millions. And maybe I can sell something that's doing 100 millions for a couple 100 million. And then that would really help me move into the direction of billionaire. But point is, I have the general direction, and then you got to break it down, move backwards. So that's point number one. It's a new year. It's January 9th. Don't overstep and overlook the importance of making a good decision for yourself, right? When you're doing, especially if you have something that's established and there's more weight around it, then your decisions are important because, if it's just you probably should just be taking action. Don't spend too much time on the decision because there's not much that needs to move if anything changes, right? When it's just you, if something changes, you just fucking, step to the left. If you have 60 people who work for you and a whole or whatever, 100 or 500 or thousands, that's where it's wow, that is where you have to make good ones or else, you fuck a bunch of shit up. But that's point number one. Don't overlook the importance of good decision making. Sometimes giving yourself space, going on walks, reading books, writing and stuff like that, hustle porn and entrepreneurial culture will have you thinking is a waste. And I do agree that it can definitely be overdone. But if you're at crossroads decisions in your life, thinking them through there's nothing wrong with it. And it actually giving yourself the time to do it, although it may seem very indirect, it may seem very oh, you're not fucking hand on a computer doing something. It may seem like it's slower. In the end, ends up faster. At least that's what I've experienced in my life so far. So don't rush making decisions. Don't rush making big decisions. Don't make big decisions on bad days. Don't make big decisions when you're overly emotional. What you'll find when you're thinking about a big decision, you're thinking about a directional change, is your state varies through time, especially if you're not dialed in, and you'll have different answers to that same question over time, but you can find a best answer. So give yourself however much time you need to make a big decision, and then eventually you just got to make the decision, right? You can't wait too long. And then once again, if it's just you, don't overthink it because it's just you at that point. There's not too much that's got to shift. If you have more stuff going on, then, think it through, make a good choice. Okay. So that's point number one about this. Point number two is you don't have to make all the changes at once, right? So I'm doing a total overhaul on how I'm operating myself, right? I've done years and years of all different kinds of stuff. I've gone completely free where I've absolutely had zero restriction and done whatever the fuck that I've wanted. I've done, the absolute opposite, abstain from alcohol, sex, drugs, everything for more than a year, 5 a.m. wake ups, 0 social media, 0 YouTube, all work, all, just dialed in like productivity psychopath. So I've done all of that before. And right now I can tell that this next chapter, myself wants, and myself is going to need just more dialed in routine. And I'm taking routine to like a whole new level. So what I've done is identified everything that I want to do daily. And this is literally everything. So everything, like literally everything from waking up to when I go to bed, 30-minute increments, and then all of the repeated things day to day. Down to what meals, what kind of meals, what time are the meals, vitamins, coffee, reading, working out, lunch, how many miles per week do I want to run? How many times in the gym do I want to be? What do I want to do weekly? What do I want to do quarterly? What do I want to do yearly? And that's the first thing I did. Okay, what's end state? Okay, it's just dialed in Luke, not thinking about any of this shit. Not thinking about when he's going to get up, when he's going to do anything, just more so thinking about what I'm trying to actually accomplish. And for me, I work in extremes. So for me, that's just completely solving for all of that. And step one is just identify what are all of the things. So if I have, billionaire Luke, and I can try and think of what billionaire Luke does, he's got all of his focus and all of his attention on the things that he's trying to accomplish and not on figuring out how to like live type of stuff. I have certain diets, I have certain exercises, routines. I have certain, I know now if I run about 10 miles a week, it's better for my mental health. I know if I sauna 5 days a week, it's better for me. I know if I work out 5 days a week, my confidence is up, my test is up, it's better for me. I know if I eat my vitamins with a smoothie in the morning, that's the best way to do it. I know if I don't take them for 2 days a week, my body feels better. I know if I fast 1 day out of the week, I feel leaner and I also feel cleaner. I know if I wake up at about 5 a.m., I get the time in the morning that I need. I know if I go to bed early, I wake up earlier, easier. So I know all of these things, right? I know all of these things give me maxed out, optimized version of me. I'm not doing a lot of these things though right now. I'm doing bits and pieces of them, and I'm having to remind myself to do them. So, you write down this list, you're like, oh my God, this is fucking overwhelming. And this is where most people, I think, fuck up. They try and do all of this shit at once. That's not what I'm going to do, right? So first is just identifying, okay, end state looks like this. You don't have to start at end state. You don't have to start at, doing literally everything on the list right away. You can begin with just what you can manage. And if you just handle just what you can manage, your capacity to manage will increase. Right. And then once it's a routine and a habit, you don't have to think about it. Once you don't have to think about it, it doesn't require mental energy. So once you don't have to require mental energy for the first step, then all of a sudden, you can do 2/3 of it because the first third no longer requires mental energy. Now you're doing 2/3. You do 2/3 of it for the second month. Now 2/3 of it requires less mental energy. And because you're just locked in like a machine, like a robot, you're fucking optimized. Now your energy's through the roof. 2/3 of it no longer requires thought. Now what are we doing? We're doing the last third. And then it's just all in a calendar. So I'm just gonna, I haven't been structured enough. Now I have executive meetings and I have team meetings and stuff like that, which, is great. I like it, but there's also components about it that I don't like. And if I don't make sure that I craft out my schedule, because when it's just you, and when it used to be just me, I could fuck around for a day, or stay up too late, or do whatever. And the next day, because it was always just me, and I could be very selfish with my time. I didn't have to do a one-on-one, or I didn't have to help the sale, whatever it is. I didn't have to do things like that because it was just me and my output and my small team, who was also kind of autonomous. I could just be selfish, get myself back into routine. Now I have less of that leniency. There's more responsibility. So I can't just ignore life and do what I forgot to do the day before. I have responsibility. So it requires me to be double time on not not dropping the ball basically, and not like letting myself off of what I'm trying to do. So that's point number 2. Identify what future state you looks like and what you're like planning to accomplish you looks like. And then think of the activities that this person does daily and weekly. What are the habits of this individual? And if you just lock in what the habits are, then the outcomes become like very likely, right? Like if you want to be a good golfer and you practice, you look at a pro golfer's routine and you say, okay, they're hitting, they're hitting drives from this time to this time. They're putting from this time to this time. And then furthermore, this is how they're putting. This is how they're hitting drives. This is how they're hitting iron shots. This is how they're hitting chip shots. And this is how many times per week they're doing it. If you did that every week, you would begin to get really good at golf. Same thing with business, same thing with anything. So if you can just nail down the habits and nail down the activities and routines of the individual that you're trying to become, the likelihood you become them increases by a whole lot. So nail it down. I like to start with the end result because it's easier to see an end result for me. And then once you have the end result, you don't have to start there in action, right? Like you want to work yourself to that point, but you don't want to do 75 things that you're not currently doing, because you likely will just overwhelm yourself and then get burnt out. You want to begin with what you can, turn it into a habit, and then increase. And then my plan is to put it all into a calendar. So like everything, every 30 minutes calendared. I wake up, before I go to bed, plan tomorrow today, 30-minute increments. That's on a piece of paper. That's one of the things that I'll be doing every day. That'll be in my calendar to plan tomorrow today. And then I wake up in the morning, boom, it's just all there, fucking down to a T. Waking up at this time, doing this at this time, eating this smoothie that has this stuff in it at this time, eating these vitamins at this time, eating, drinking this water at this time, just all of it. So you don't have to think. And that's what I'm doing. So I've been AFK. I've been away from keyboard. I've been off of the pod game for a few days. Why? Because I need to be. I'm not in fucking teaching mode right now. I have no interest in being in teaching mode right now. I'm in learning mode right now. I'm in introspection mode right now. And I need to be selfish enough to say, okay, fuck anything other than that right now, because this is what's most important for me. And I hope you have the self-respect to also do the same for you. And don't overlook the importance of setting a good direction. So I really hope this helped. If it did, please subscribe to the podcast, share it with a friend. I run no ads on this thing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being an internet capitalist. Thank you for giving me your time. And I hope that this helped. Spend enough time to set the right direction, make the good decision, to break down the habits of the individual that's accomplishing the thing that you're setting out to accomplish. And then 3, don't overwhelm yourself once you've clearly identified what these habits and things are. You don't have to do them all at once, all in one day. It can happen over time. And if let it happen over time, does not have to be overwhelming. And then also happens very quickly, certainly quicker than the person who tries to do them all at once, because that guy or girl actually never does them. Little by little, we get ahead, not necessarily in large spurts. So thank you for listening. I appreciate your time, and I will see you tomorrow or soon for the next episode. Thanks. Bye.